Hi everybody, today we're going to be learning how to draw Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc.
Okay, so to get started, we're first going to want to start with a circle, a large circle in the middle of our paper. Again, I'm drawing lightly because some of these lines I'm going to erase and some of them I'm going to trace over and make darker later on. Alright, now let's get started with splitting the circle up in half. First, let's split them down the middle and in the side, or half, top and bottom half. Notice my line going this way isn't straight across. I did a little bit of a curve, so it looks like it's coming down, almost like a smile line. Now what we want to do is we want to start with his eye. Mike Wazowski has a giant eye in the middle of his face. So we can actually start kind of right on the bottom of this line, and we're going to go up, make a nice giant circle. All right, next we can start to plan out where we're gonna put his mouth. So he does have a nice big smile, so we'll start on one side, come down. The other, notice that I'm not making a straight line, my line is curving. Now let's make one more that comes down a lot more, so he can have his mouth open. All right, now let's put a couple more circles in the middle of his eye. So we want to first start with about a medium-sized circle right in the middle. And then inside that we're going to do two more. We're going to do a little one. And then a really small one on the side for the light catcher. This part we'll eventually color in black. All right, now he does have some kind of wrinkles around his eye and his mouth, so we're gonna put one big one on the bottom of his eye. And on the top, we're gonna start way down here, we're gonna come up and back down. And then let's do one more right on top. I'm gonna make that a little bit longer. And let's do one for his mouth right above it, and we'll put one below. All right, now let's start planning out where we're going to put his arms and his legs. So I'm going to make one line that comes down, it's going to come back in, and then I'm going to turn it into kind of an oval shape. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to come down, make sure those are about the same. Yep. Bring it back in, and then again, we want kind of a sideways oval. All right, now I'm gonna make one arm coming down and one arm going up. If you wanna change this in your picture, that is okay, that's totally up to you. So right about here, where I have my sideline cutting across my circle, I'm gonna have one arm come down, let's make it nice and long. And then let's put a little circle here for where his hand will be. And the other one, I'm gonna have it come out this way. And then we're gonna have it come up. And then let's put another circle on there to even that out. Okay. Now, Mike does have two little horns on top of his head. So we're gonna put almost kind of like a tooth shape. So notice how I'm not making a straight line, I'm curving it. I'm gonna curve it back down and another curve to connect it. 3 curves, and now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So again, I curve up, I curve out, and I curve back in. Now, Mike does have some really sharp teeth, So let's give him some zigzag lines inside of his mouth for teeth. So it does seem like he has more teeth on the top half. Now I'm not making my triangles super long or super tiny. I want them not too far apart, but just like that. And notice my triangles don't come all the way down to his lip. They still have a part where they don't quite touch, and they're all almost lip connected. He also has a few more teeth on the bottom than he does on the top. Or a few less teeth on the bottom, excuse me. Okay, now let's start on his arms. So, even though Mike is a small little monster, he does have surprisingly muscular arms. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with kind of a circle or an oval. And then we want to, while this curves in, we want this to curve back out to about where his elbow is. We're going to do the same thing on the side. We're going to curve it just a little bit. Now here, again, we're going to do kind of the same curve shapes, but not as much. That's not right. Let's fix that. That's a little better. All right, now let's do kind of the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to start with more of a triangular shape because this arm is coming up. And then again, we want kind of that muscular shape for his arms. So we want our lines to be curving out a little bit. I actually made this arm a little bit too long, so I want to fix that. All right, now on each hand, Mike only has 4 fingers. He has a thumb and then 3 other fingers. So let's go ahead and put those on our mics. So I'm gonna just start something real simple like that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go around and we're gonna trace these lines and turn them into more actual fingers. So from here, from my arm line, I'm going to curve out a little bit. And I'm just going to, almost like I'm tracing around that line I just made. I'm going to curve around and make a straight line. Now the fingers is kind of like his pointer finger. We want these to be a little bit longer. Same with his middle finger. And then the ring finger is going to be almost like a pinky finger. We're going to make that one smaller, the smallest. Then I like to go back in and do a little tiny triangle on the very end of each of his fingers for fingernails. Now, we're going to do the same thing on the top half. So, now, because this hand is open, it's facing us, we're going to give kind of a little bit of a W shape. Now this is I'm going to use this end of the W to come up and start to make my thumb. I made the fingers on this side a little bit long, so just notice how I didn't go all the way. Oops. And then at the end we can put some little triangles at the tips, again for fingernails. Now back to his feet. What we're going to do is let's do similar to what we did for the arms, but now we're going to do them on his legs. So again, we're going to make another line that kind of curves out. This one's going to do the same thing. And let's round this off so it looks a little more realistic. And then when it gets to about his knee, we're going to do the same thing. This one's going to curve out a bit, while this one is actually going to get almost straightened. That's where his shin is going to be. Now, when it gets to the oval, what we're going to do is we're going to take this line from his leg and we're going to wrap it around. We want to make almost like a backwards S shape. What I'm going to do is once I get to about here, towards the end of his foot, I'm going to make another oval shape. This is going to be for his first toe. And then I can put a little toenail on there. Now on the top half of this oval, this part I want to bring out, and right about where I made that first toe, I'm going to make the second toe. Again, little triangle nail. Now for this third toe, we're not seeing the whole thing because of the way his foot is angled. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to where his second toe is. We're going to make a teeny, tiny little loop that we just see a corner of. And we're going to do the same thing now on this side. So again, let's start with kind of those curved out lines. Let's bring them in so it looks a little more real. And then again on the bottom, or this bottom part of the leg, we're going to curve out. While our first one we want to keep relatively straight. Now again for the foot, back here on the back end of side of his leg, I'm going to wrap it around, almost making an backwards S shape. And then again when I get to about this part of this oval is where I'm going to start to make his toes. I'm going to get a little point. Now again, top half of the oval, I want to bring it down. And again, when I get to where about the toe is, that's when I want to start the second one. Again, give a little point to it. And third toe, again, because of the way his foot is angled, we're not going to really see it, but we can put a third little bump on the end. Now, the last thing we want to do before we start tracing is Mike Wazowski is not a perfect circle. While the bottom half is very circular, when it gets to the top half of him, he gets more pear-shaped. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this side in and curve it up right before his horn. We're going to do the same thing on this side. So a little bit above his arm, we're going to bring it in and back up right before that horn shape on the top of his head. And that is our basic Mike Wazowski.
Everyone, I hope you guys had a good time today. That is our Mike Wazowski. If you want to pause it here, you can match the same colors, but you do not have to. I hope you guys had fun. I definitely did, and I'll see you next time.